Somehow I feel like Maiev isn't going to be a part of it.
I don't think so.
After that last game. Or it's only going to be let through in the Maiev. And hopefully the one, I was going to say the Maiev. Hopefully they'll become the Maiev by blocking it in their first slot. But yeah, that's yet to be determined here.
Or they are willing to play it themselves this time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the thought process to kind of piggyback off of everything we were just talking about KSV Black on this map is to kind of obsessively win small fights or exchanges in the early game on the first tempo phase and then win mercenary camps. And then as you're saying, Kendrick, just kind of avoid team fighting and take the advantage so you get 10, crush that fight, and then the game snowballs. So Maiev gets through. This time it will be for the one.
Snap block in Malf and Genji immediately. Understandably so, though. Like, when you let that through after game one, I think KSV goes, okay, they're not going to let us have that again. They expected that pickup here. So far, all according to plan, and I guess, again, very in control here for KSV. But what do we expect now? I guess this is, you know, because you talked about the Lunar New Year coming in, and when we saw the end of the Chinese series in HGC, we don't really know what are their thought process behind the heavy synergies, heavy counters, and when we talked to a lot of the teams, it didn't seem like they had too much concern towards what we saw at Western Clash. So at this point, I don't know. I will say, much like we brought up in game number one, I think it's still got to be brought up here, not only because of the Maiev, but also because of the problem it was, is the Tyrael. Is that going to be addressed in this draft? I hope so for the one. I think it's going to be necessary. I don't know if it has to happen before secondary ban phase. I think it's probably safest, but we'll find out.
And this is such a cool situation right now for the one, or for people who are casting and observing the one here, because although I was hired to shed a little bit of insight and light about the Chinese region, I have no idea who's going to play it. Is it going to be Meng, who definitely has what it takes to do so, or is it Hugo finally stepping up his hero pool?
I hope it's Hugo, but when I mean, I don't know this for certain, and correct me if I'm wrong. When I know a player is very popular for their mechanical prowess, and they have those niche heroes and are overly dominant within them, if they've kind of added a new one to their arsenal, they don't wait any longer to bust it out. We watched game number one and went through the draft. I can't help but feel like if we do see Hugo on it, it's more reactionary and going, somebody needs to take this away, than it is a, oh, Hugo's got hero number 4 on this list, right? This is the thing to fear.
I'm curious what approach Black is going to take to this, because they've banned Tychus and Abathur, which both scream to me as, I didn't research this team that much on this map. Let's pick safe bans here. Genji Malfurion is almost never seen in Korea in second rotation, and they snap locked it, which means they've changed their drafting style up quite significantly since since we've last seen them in HGC Korea. The Junkrat pick they've been favoring a lot. We're going to see that now. And Blaze has often been a pick for Rich when he was playing, of course, the solo lane. Probably be Koja in this case, with Junkrat being played by Rich. But the ban of Malthael means they want to try to control the solo lane now. And that's very important on a map where you're trying to at least break even in the early game so that KSV Black can't run away with you, with the comp on you.
And guys, look at the composition that KSV is, laying out here. That all screams just disengage, with the exception of Genji maybe, but Junkrat wreaks so much mayhem and havoc. Then you have Blaze with a bunker. They don't want to teamfight necessarily. They just want to be the ones dictating the pace whenever they want to.
And I was concerned about where the Tyrael would come in, right?
Yeah,
and we saw in the 2-3, Garrosh is being selected. Garrosh, if a Tyrael was picked up, you would immediately go, the one, you don't have enough damage. You can't get anything done in this game, even if you ended up picking that. But then you would go, well, we know Tyrael to be effective into the Maiev, so why don't we see KSV Black picking it? I can't. Beyond the macro control and all the other things that Blaze does very, very well, it's a 40-second cooldown versus 100 seconds. It is far more forgiving to go the Blaze into the Maiev trade-off, and knowing your opponent can't take that, you have nothing to fear. Don't even have to waste a ban on it. And right now, it's looking good for KSV Black.
Wait a minute. That means it's probably going to be Lucky who plays the Maiev.
Because we got the Leoric coming in.
Yeah, the Leoric is here. That is a Hugo pick if I've ever seen one. And Meng is definitely a gray main. He played it 24 times in the season, and that is just unheard of. Like, if you think about it, he could basically be the Chinese equivalent of Rich there when it comes to gray main prioritization.
What's really interesting to me is we see the Arthas coming through as kind of a response to this. Very strong, obviously, against the gray main. It has been kind of a soft counter for gray main in Korea for a long time. Also, one of the responses to kind of deathball Tyrael style comps, just because of the slow that Arthas provides. But this pick, I think, goes back to what KSV Black was telling us when we spoke to them extensively yesterday about what they thought about the meta, saying that they think that the top laner, the off laner, is going to be more kind of a main tank type hero like the Arthas, moving away from heroes like Dahaka, moving away from split pushy type heroes, moving away from even like bruisers like Sonya.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see some evidence, I think, of this with this Arthas pick.
I think that's a fair assessment, honestly.
Well, we are going to go ahead and jump into game number 2. Can the one bring it back, or is KSV going to close this out? Dreadnought and Kendrick going to bring you that coverage.
I'm going to say one thing, Dreadnought. After seeing those drafts, I'm starting to lose a little bit of hope here for the one. I know.
Slow it down, Kendrick, all right?
All right, all right. I still want to believe in the one, but I think, as Wolf said during the draft, there are too many staples brought by KSV Black. I'm going to save my China pride for this upcoming series, I think.
You know what? And for every ounce of faith you're losing, I'm gaining it. Just purely based on I need to be, I don't know, the opposite. Just you have the opposite opinion. No, generally speaking, I agree.
Yeah.
It's going to be, it's a draft where KSV looked comfortable in game 1 and they went with objective power. And anytime you see a team ban of objective power and look as dominant as they were in game number 1, I usually go, you're going to have a hard time in game number 2. They didn't look any more shaking within some of the pick selection. They seem very, understanding. We talked about the speed at which we saw the 1-2 Genji and Malfurion, and that's different from what we normally see from them. So they are very calculated so far through this tournament, and it's up to the one to change that outcome.
Absolutely. And if there is one thing that I always feared for the Chinese teams to face here at this Eastern Clash, it was the Blaze. I actually talked to you yesterday about it as well, that I thought personally Blaze could be the downfall of China because A, it contradicts their playstyle, it shuts down the Brawly playstyle so well with front replacement, and B, they play it themselves. And if they do play it, we see the craziest of talent builds there.
Bit of a rotation we see up in the top lane, but Lyric's going to be just fine. KSV Black ends up going to the 1v1, or to the trade-off of the 1-minute giant game. I like the fact that we constantly see Hehe trying to posture up with a Garrosh and threaten out some of the transitions of KSV Black. It's not getting them too much now. Sky Temple is not a map that is promoted to get those kind of kills because mid lane is the only one where there's questionable rotations, especially if you don't control I, which currently speaking, the one is the team not to have that. So I would like to see them maybe make some rotations in that manner to worry about where they can get those elements, because I can't help but feel like when the first Shrine phase hits, that's when this is going to get very grim very quick.
Meantime, though, we see both teams prioritizing the night camp above everything else, and I like that on Sky Temple. I think oftentimes teams are not really paying too much attention to pressuring the top lane and then following it up by a top 10 siege.
But what I want to raise is a major difference of what we see in the bottom lane. There was a 3-man defense from KSV and only a 2-man commitment to the night camp, and they timed it more optimally.
Look at that huge concussion time, by the way.
Yeah, nice knock up there on the Hehe. I don't think there's enough armor in the world to get that sidewall down in time. Maybe.
Oh, maybe. He's going to make it.
He's getting the rope.
Heals are real.
Kyocha's body blocking, but it looks like they're going to forfeit that over. Oh, wait a minute. Flip onto Blaze. Nice route to zone it out. Hugo going to get the tether right back. But look at that jet propulsion.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, if there's a reason it starts with jet, man, that thing is quick.
And unfortunately, there was nobody to intercept it, and now Hugo is getting chased out mercilessly by Arthas. A nice flip, though. Is Tiz going to make it out alive? The heals just arrive at the last nick of time here, and Tiz just walks out like it was a piece of cake. They even get Sato as well, flipping him from left to right, and down goes the one. And during all of this, they didn't even need their biggest star. They didn't even need Rich. Easy peasy 4 versus 5.
In the lane mismatch there, he's able to just very easily take the kill onto the Leoric. And so right now, I mean, to paint it lightly, it feels like KSV is winning on every single thing they possibly can. They're winning the 1 versus 1. They're winning the 4 versus 4. They have better timing of the camps.
They're winning the 4 versus 5.
They're winning the 4 versus 5. They're winning in terms of the timing of the camps. Their night camp was better timed. Their giants were protected, which is not the case when we look at the 1 in the giant rotation. And when I can't help but feel like when people ask why are the Korean teams, why are some of the European teams so good at what they do, it's things like this, that they are just doing slightly better, slightly quicker, or more optimally, efficiently, and then 3 minutes and 30 seconds in, that equates to now almost a level and a half lead. That being said, I mean, the one very much, game plan is there from beginning to end. It's just you have. I think that, Trick put it best. You give them an inch and they're going to take them out.
And not all hope is lost here just yet. They were able to get a forward after all. They did get some decent value off that top temple in, but the moment they see KSV posturing up, they realize we don't have level 7. That last team fight didn't really go well for us. We better back off for now.
The one question is when does the boss play come in from KSV Black? Ideally, it would be after cycling the bottom 4 to prep it for heavier pressure, because this experience advantage is big enough, it's inevitably a keep if that's the direction they want to play it out. Even, because they have an Arthas, I know this is a BOE main strategy, but it's not unheard of on other maps too to risk the Syndragosa all in. And they're going to start with the Giants to be able to get the prep in. I expect this to be a rotation Tor, I guess they still have a little bit while for that to even spawn at this point in time.
I think boss battles are actually going to be very interesting because if you look at it, both teams actually have their merits and strengths when it comes to that. We have the crazy disengage by Junkrat, knocking people off the platform. We have the bunker plays dashing in and out, but also we do have Maiev, Divine Shields to block all that concussion nonsense. So maybe with a little bit of good coordination and enough reset.
In terms of timing, like, oh my goodness, like, look at the rounding of the 10 spike. If that was the opportunity in transition, they don't commit to it. But man, that was one of the best map preparations I feel like I've seen in all of competitive Heroes. The one in a bad spot here. You see how aggressive TIS can be in this positioning. They're legitimately ignoring the fort, just moving past.
When a Garrosh runs away like that, you know things are not going the way you want them to go. And there's the boss play we talked about. Of course, the one are in no position to really contest that. Level 10 is not here. Work abilities are still far away. So can they actually gain those couple of moments here to apply a little bit of pressure on the map themselves? Leoric on the top lane is trying to get a little bit of soak in. Garrosh and Grayman are joining him, trying to maybe intercept somebody who is trying to lane against him. But Blaze is too far away.
I have.
Just very cool and collected.
She gets dismounted. She might go down. Oh, there's the dismount from Rich, but TIS actually stopped the transition, so it's not going to be a risk there. Even with the vault down, no Howling Blast within range.
Look at Blaze in the top lane, though. He's surrounded by two people. They need to get behind him.
And, you know, I don't know why I expected anything different from a Blaze, you know? It's just
pretty good hero.
When in doubt, bunker up, boys.
All right, in the meantime, the top lane is getting demolished by KSV Black. They've got a big bad boy next to them, reinforcing their push. Rich taking a little bit of damage, but X-Strike dodging the tether and dodging any potential Warden's Cage follow-up. But level 10 isn't even there, so this is for good looks.
Yeah, and there's the Tranquility as well. Using it to try and keep him alive. And that is a pretty major cooldown. The one, you see, posturing like he may want to get a little bit of something done here. Not too much of the team to get the follow-up. I'm honestly surprised KSV didn't want to rotate and try and collapse on him. Just, I mean, it is a Garrosh, but when you see all the other four members worried about the boss or in other parts of the map, that typically is when, I mean, that is what Korean teams are very, very good at. It's abusing the information at hand. They play a bit slower, play a bit safer, and they eventually have the opportunity to make the transition down with the 13 talents or even beforehand to that bottom shrine. Now, when we saw the boss play, Blaze was up towards top, right? And we saw about 20 to 30 seconds where they did not send Blaze down to make the rotation for the boss as fast as they possibly could. And I can't help but pose that a lot of this kind of awkward limbo that we see out of KSV right now is because of that type of situation, and that they didn't totally capitalize on the 10 window advantage, and they weren't able to get a keep while they have that time frame, right? And if we see that 30 seconds, I can't help but feel like KSV would have claimed a keep for their own in this game. Would be a catapult away from GG.
Yeah, and if you take a look at the hero damage numbers here, by the way, it all shows and speaks one language. There is no real team fight going on for the one right now. The main thing now is for them to utilize their heavy hitters, their level 10 heroic abilities, lock them down somehow, especially the Warden's Cage is going to be so important. I actually thought that Leoric would go for it too, to maybe provide even more pressure onto it. Lucky though, getting the opposite right now, using Marcel the Black King, but they're dodging it so well. Lucky ends up falling, no reinforcements in sight, and that top fort is easy one.
And if anybody at home is wondering, why is KSV Black not taking these shots on bottom, right? Look at how much the one is going to get out of this. Yeah, I mean, not only that, how much is the one really going to get on this map with that bottom shrine? It's the second shrine phase of the entire game. It's one of the weaker scaling ones, and because heroes scale with the levels, whereas the shrine scale with, exactly. And so they identify that as a problem, and if anybody commits to it, the trade-off fort for fort, that's winning. Then a night camp onto the keeper wall is huge advantageous. Even if the Leoric doesn't die there, this is still a winning trade-off. And when you talked about why does the Chinese team maybe not like the map, they get kited around. This is KSV doing exactly that. The Warden Cage goes down. Riptire is going to follow through. Has a lot of armor in, but is not enough to keep him alive. Rich looking for resets, drops the X-Ray.
Here goes the Genji show. Taking one out, taking two out, and Hugo is all of a sudden the only player left alive. The Avatar of Vengeance is out, trying to get him to safety up to this point, but at what cost, Dread? The keep is going to fall here as well. Is it, though?
This is an interesting situation. The game, back. Yeah, the game is so early that even if they get this keep, it's not that easy, right? The damage is so very slow to get that
Lucky's
out.
Gone.
But we're going to get them back. And look at the double giant camp. That double giant camp is not going to gain as much, but
it at least forces them back.
Yeah, and this is all because of how fast KSV's been able to get experience in this game, that they're kind of outscaling the game itself, it feels like. Or at least not having the traditional damage you see a team have by the time they get up to those keeps. And so this is a really interesting trade-off where the Giants gained more in that circumstance than they normally would, and KSV gained less than you normally would see in that Chinese transition. But when KSV has a 2-level lead and structural advantage as big as they have, it's again one of those, did you lose too much in the early game? And it feels like that's the case.
The distraction alone was, of course, enough for KSV Black to get back because, as you said, double giant camp, very dangerous. However, this is a little bit lucky for the one now. Look at the temple placement, the temple locations. The top temple is being left out. That's huge because otherwise KSV Black could have finished that top keep very easily.
Yeah.
That allows the one to maybe anticipate and intercept heroes a little bit easier, especially when it comes to circling around that boss, which should be respawning relatively soon.
Always gotta love yourself some Chinese
push meta, baby.
Hey, it's been a hot minute since we've seen that,
KSV
but I
Black's
like
not falling for it yet.
Oh, Rich though. Oh, Rich. He's.
Dun, dun, dun.
They know something's fishy. He throws the shuriken. That's
there
only
we
one
go.
though. That's only one. That was only a reveal on the Hey. Nobody's
No,
gonna get
they're
too
not going to fall
aggressive.
for it.
Maev is going to start the bottom channel, giving the information. Junkrat made the transition towards top. 16 advantage there. That's going to be one keep, another on mid. Actually, Rich out too far on bottom. Hammer of Justice serves the Justice. The tether onto Sake. Sake, he uses the Tranquility, but he's going to go down.
He's going to go down eventually. There goes the Ice Block, keeping him alive for a little bit longer. But a 2-for-0 trade here in favor of the one. They lose the top keep. Junkrat was making sure that this one at least ended up falling. But the one, they smell the cake and they know exactly what their next step is supposed to be. They want to take that boss. And I think at this point, Fred, with the level 60 inbound, they have to go all in. Because this is probably going to be their only chance maybe to get more value if they want to stay in the game.
I agree with you. It feels like it's going to be that kind of Hail Mary moment
exactly
for the one. You know, you talked about them smelling the cake, but I was
the Giants too.
The cake is a lie. They're going to stack that up. Double giant camp. That's all I'm concerned with. And by the way, where's the cake for me? The Giants, and the boss.
That's going to be a scary push.
Advantage.
Look at Junkrat though, by the way, in the middle.
Yeah, he's going to get a double keep. He's trying to buy any kind of situation to get the threat back. Honestly, I think you're right. I can't help but feel like a 12-minute boss, or 11-minute boss, excuse me.
He doesn't go for
Hail
it.
Mary play with a keep front wall available and only level 60. It feels like this is too much. Even you know, I don't know. It's hard.
It's such a hard call to make.
We're gonna see what they have. Thought process.
The wall is down.
He moves up.
There we go. Kyocha going in on that place, dropping the bunker very early. Here comes the Riptide. Genji going in as well. They need to keep the one at bay, but can they successfully do so? No, it is Junkrat who falls first.
They got Junkrat. Zato is falling very, very low. Ends up being the first to drop. That is an Uther, so he's going to go into Ghost form, giving the healing, giving the armor. Hugo dropping in the Warden's Cage, uses the vault to keep himself alive. Tish trying to get the kill. The chase is there. Jet propulsion.
Boss
actually
still alive.
Double pullback on the Warden's Cage is not going to allow Kyocha to get the kill, and now Boss goes to core.
The boss is going to core. Rich is on the back lane though. He gets one kill. Meng is super low as well. The support is no longer alive. They cannot sustain this anymore. And although the boss is a scary foe to face, I think he's not going to be strong enough to take down the core single-handedly at this point in time.
It was one of those, again, 12-minute boss, 12-minute all-in. Do you go for it? And I don't even want to say that. I feel like the one all-in, KSV was just going to kind of force the hand and say, if you're going to commit at this point in time, we can keep you off the core and make it too problematic. But it is not over yet here. KSV, they've got 20 seconds before they have to consider the entirety of the team of the one available. We know Boss as a win condition has been removed for some time. This is inevitably all of the shots on bottom, as it is going to be a triple keep, but it's not game. It is damage on core. So the one, at this point in time, the most optimal fight they're going to get is they're going to be on their core, which at this point in time, it should be weak enough that they will lose it, because KSV will ignore them and just all in the core. Or two, anywhere else on the map that they can draw and aggro that fight. I want to see them dominate I. Someone needs to be baiting, feigning, rotating, something like, because this game is going to get out of control.
And this is one of those rare moments where, although you're 3 levels down, you can't wait for your opponents to just, you get 20, especially not on Sky Temple. You don't have the time anymore. Time is running out for the one. They need to make an aggressive play, although they don't have Storm Tier talents just yet, but it is their only chance of potentially stabilizing and still staying in the game. The bottom temple, by the way, is still left. KSV Black, they don't need it. At this point, they can look for a fight, maybe themselves, and go for a core. They can brute forces with the level 20.
Yeah, and with the Night Camp and the changes in the AoE armor and protection that's going to provide for the team, it's going to be very difficult for them to drop.
Against Maev, you shut down the Phantom Knights damage so hard.
And people were, you know, wondering, or at least talking a little bit about the double support out of the Eastern meta and why it sticks around, and I very much would argue that a lot of it is based off the Night changes and their thought process around heavy sustain.
Look at what the one is trying to do.
Yeah, they're trying to feign them back, but look at the back channels that we saw out of KSV Black. They are ready, prepped, and
they need to go core right
understanding of the situation.
Yeah, double Night Camp is inbound, only Leoric left to defend, and now all they need to do is prevent them from teleporting back, wait for the Night Camps to do the dirty work, and the One is all of a sudden surrounded, circumvented. Divine Shield is good, but can Meng actually stay alive? No, he can. KSV Black is good in a clean house.
Yeah, they go in and they end up getting the first
1,
kill
2,
there.
3.
Hugo very, very low. X-Strike is used, and now that is 4 men dead. Leoric and Blaze getting the wet noodle fight here over on the core, but the Knights are the real, you know, kind of champions here of the game, getting the damage onto the core, and it is only a matter of time before KSV takes this 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much luck he can do here. He's sapping the life from Kyoja to the best of his ability. He's going in for a last foray here with a March of the Black King, but he ends up falling. And KSV Black, after 15 minutes on Sky Temple, takes the entire series 2-0.
20-3 in terms of kills in that last game. I will say, though they look dominant, they do not look unstoppable, KSV Black.
Gods can bleed.
That is right, indeed, Kendrick. We had, I think, a lot of weaknesses shown on both sides of this game. I feel like in terms of understanding map objectives and vision, KSV Black definitely had every advantage. We saw a few times the One trying